Well, hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, and I'm joined with hubby.
I've got.
And we are starting from the beginning. We are getting to know our pins, but I did have this kind of sectioned off so that we're going to go over some basic stuff first. That way, if you're very new to burning, you have a better idea of what's going on. And if you've been doing it for a while and maybe forgot something, hopefully this will help. So for this section, what I'm going to do is, after each section, I'm going to say hi to everybody in chat. That way anybody watching on replay, it's a little easier to follow. And if you have any questions pertaining to that section, we'll get them all answered. And then if it has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, we'll just answer those at the end. That way everybody gets their answers. So we're going to start off with the most basic burning tools that I think you need. Now this is all going to be having to do with the wire tip burner, and I'm going to be focusing on the Optima, but all of this applies to any wire tip brand that you have. Okay, so I have my Optima pin and my burner. Transfer paper, I have graphite. This is wax free, and there's only two brands I found. The Cerro and Walnut Hollow. I like the Walnut Hollow better. We have a pencil for drawing. We have an X-Acto knife for scraping. We have the aluminum oxide and leather strop for cleaning. And I'm not going to go heavy on the cleaning. I do have a video that I posted last week. I have it up in the iCards in the top right. So if you want to go back and watch that later, you can. Blue painter's tape. An eraser. This is my favorite. It's the Vanish 4-in-1 eraser. Sandpaper. I've got 220 grit. I've got 320 grit and 400 grit. These are what I sand all my boards with. I have a birch panel. This one is a Dick Blick birch panel, and a scrap piece of wood to test my tips on. So that's everything for the very, very basics. You're new to burning and you just want to get started and you're going for wire tip. Now all these same supplies would apply to the craft burner as well. So you'd be good to go on that. Hi everyone. Greg, Pod, Sheila, Ted. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next section, and that would be the different kinds of woods. I don't have any kind of example of poplar. Actually, I do, but I don't have it out. I've never burned on poplar, but that's what a lot of artists like to use, which is totally fine. This is Baltic birch, which is my favorite, and there's basswood. The woods to stay away from would be pine and oak. Those are not your best bet for burning any kind of real detail without a struggle. The more even the grain, the better off you will be. I think that was all on the wood, right? Oh, maple. Maple is another one that people like to use. I have maple, thanks to Burl, but I haven't tried it yet. There is soft maple and hard maple. Hard maple I have burned on, and it is a pain and frustrating and not worth it. So stay away from the sugar maple. I believe that's the only one listed as a hard maple. I would stay away from that. So on graphite paper, there is a difference. You will see a lot of brands, and darn it, I did not pull them out. Hold on 1 second. I so wanted to be organized on this. Sorry, love.
That's okay.
I'm grabbing my other brands.
I'm gonna have to get mine out of the back.
Oh, go ahead. Let's see here. I'm trying to grab different, there we go. Yeah, different brands of graphite paper. So this is going to be a quick, I guess, kind of rant. Sorry. You will see different brands that say graphite paper on them. Let's see here. I'm just trying to find some of the brands that I've got. And what you will find is these two brands tend to be made by the same company, even though the packaging is different. Speedball has their own packaging. This company has theirs. These are not graphite paper. They say it, but they are not. They are carbon paper, and they will not lift off your wood very easily. In fact, there's an example of me using the Mona Lisa on a Still Life Live piece that I was doing. And you have an extremely hard time removing this from your wood, if at all. And it causes major problems. And it is petroleum based, so you really don't want to use carbon paper. So we will go on to that. Graphite paper that's true graphite paper is what you want to use. Okay, so now in my list we are on to, I didn't talk about sanding too much. With the sanding, you do want to go with the grain. You do want to use an orbital sander or some kind of power sander to sand your wood, because hand sanding is not going to get it as smooth as you really want to have it. So using the orbital sander, which I went through and updated my Amazon and kit page, and I found a decent orbital sander on Amazon. So that's all. I have everything down, linked below, and that will make a big difference over hand sanding. And I've hand sanded these, and I have used the power sander, and by far the power sander does so much better. Now this one I have not cleaned off with denatured alcohol, which I guess we could go ahead and talk about that. But when I sand, I start with 220 regardless of how smooth it feels to me at the time. I always sand with the 220 first, and then I go back with the 320 and go over it again, and then do the 400. If you're I have been trying to wet my wood first to raise what they call the nap, which is the grain, raising the grain, and then doing my sanding process to get it even smoother. The smoother the wood, the better the burn. So always sand your wood. I have forgotten to sand on a piece, and I had to go back into areas and hand sand before I was burning that area, because your tip, especially a wire tip, will get caught on the grain even if it doesn't feel rough to you. Now this one I did raise the grain on both sides, I believe. And so that hopefully you can see a bit of the difference between raised and smooth, which looking at it, you can. Okay, so what I would do now is take some denatured alcohol, which I forgot to grab, which is behind the paper towels.
Okay.
And a paper towel. And the denatured alcohol that I use, sorry, love, I've got, okay, I'll take that, is this brand. Whatever you have available to you should work. This one does say it's natural, it has natural renewable content, so that's why I went with the green. I prefer that. So what I'm going to do real quick is pop the lid. And this will, you can also use clear, not colored nail polish. You can use, I looked all this up before to help somebody out, and now I'm going, because down in like Australia, it's called something different.
Nail polish.
Yeah, you can, a nail polish remover.
Oh, okay.
Did I only say nail polish?
Yes.
Don't use nail polish remover. Sorry about that. I'm trying to think what, you can also use isopropyl alcohol, which you can get that at like Walgreens, Walmart. The stronger the better. So I put some on my wood. This is a pencil mark, and then I realized I forgot I hadn't wiped it off. And what this does is clean off all the sanding debris, and it actually seems to soften the wood a bit. So just wipe that down. And while we're letting this dry, and it does not take long to dry, and this also doesn't raise the grain, which is why it's good to use. Close that because I don't want to smell it. There we go. So while we're waiting for this to dry, which, like I said, very quickly, we're going to go on to our wood burner. Hey, Spence, Duran, Eve, Sue. Yes, acetone works, Sue. I just couldn't think of the word. My bad. So this is my single Optima. It's not plugged in because I'm not using it at the moment. So this is the easiest one for me to have down here. Now, when you get it in the box, you will have your cord separated. Your pin or pins will be in a tube, and you will have instructions. I highly recommend, no matter what burner you have, to always read the instructions, because everybody has a little different way on how they tell you to do things. So I would take my cord out, and this is going to be a little bent up because I have been using it, so it's not brand new. But I would look to make sure there's no cracks. Make sure it's nice and smooth in the cord. And then I would check my pins for the same thing. Make sure none of the casing has cracked. The foam is secure. If you've got fixed tips, that those are in nice and tight. That nothing's bent on where your pin connects to the cord. Just look it over, feel it. As long as everything feels good. I did want to discuss, I have all, because I'm right-handed, that's my dominant hand. All my burners are on my right side. You really want to have your burner where you can see your dial. That way you know what's going on. It's also easier to reach. You want to make sure that your burner is not so far away that your cord is taut from the burner to where you're working. You want it to have slack. You want it to move. You want it to be flexible, because you don't want any kind of hand fatigue if you can help it. So setting up makes a big difference. I used to sometimes have it on the left side, but then I would have, because I was thinking, well, I just reach over my left to change the dial. But in most cases, if I'm changing the dial, I'm putting my pen down for a moment anyway to rest my hand. So I prefer on the right. I think I got all that. The angle you work at. Right now the camera is set flat, and that's just so it was easier for me to show things on camera. I'm just going to have to keep moving things over there. But what I don't recommend burning flat. And the reason for that is when you're burning flat like this, the heat from the tip is radiating towards your hand, because your fingers are closer to the actual angle of the tip in this way. But if you burn at an angle, your fingers are actually back. And as your fingers are back, the heat is going towards the ceiling and not your hand. And this will help keep it cooler while you're burning. So an angle, it also helps in, say, perspective. Because if you're working flat and you think you got this, your face is going right or whatever it is you're working on, but then you hold it up because of working at a flat perspective, you've burned at that flat perspective. But when you put the wood up so that how you would have it for, hanging on the wall or whatnot, your perspective could be off. So in order to keep that off, you need to have your pin or your wood as close to the angle as to how it's going to be presented and what's comfortable for you. I always work on a tabletop easel. For that very reason, I think we decided that was what, 70?
Like 73 degrees. Like
73 degrees. I can go further up, but because of the camera and everything, I have it at about that angle. If you can't get a tabletop easel right now, which I do have that listed for Amazon as well. It's a very simple easel that's adjustable. But if you can't do it, you can't do it. A high doorstop. Though I do suggest attaching this to a piece of wood, whether it's nail or screw or glue. Even this puts your hand at a better angle than being flat. It also will help your neck. I have major neck problems now from spending a lot of years burning flat. I didn't go to an easel until 2011. So 6 years of looking down has really messed up my neck. So even a cheap plastic, I think this one said it was like 2.5 inches high, so it's for a thicker gap. That, based on the size of your wood, will keep it secure, keeps it raised. And like I said, you can attach it to a piece of wood that is thicker and heavier so that it's not moving so much. And in fact, you can lay felt down underneath it to keep that from happening as well. I use these for the back of my easel so they don't slide. Huh?
We're buffering.
Are we still buffering? Because it doesn't look like it. Okay.
Not anymore.
Okay, good. Whew. Okay, so angle of what we're working at. Got that. All right, now we're getting to using our pen. So this is going to be specific to Optima. Again, read your instruction manual for your burner. And one thing I tend to forget to do, and that's completely on me, is when you get your new pen, you need to wipe it off just to make sure there's no wax or any residue left on the tip. And then take your burner, turn it up to 10. You're not burning anything right now. But what you are doing is for a couple of seconds at cherry is you're heating the tip so that it's creating an extra layer of carbon that you don't clean off. And that will help the tip glide. And so all you're doing is heating that up. And you're done.
Wait,
let it cool off.
I don't understand. I thought you didn't want carbon.
This is a different kind of carbon. The carbon I'm talking about that you wipe off is carbon from the wood. This is carbon from the metal.
So if
it's not annealing it because the wire's already hard.
Yeah. So
we're not annealing the wire. We're just getting a nice, we're kind of discoloring it a little bit, and that discoloration is what helps keep it cleaner.
Oh, so this is what you do to a new pen then?
Yeah, you only do it one time to the new pen. As soon as you get it, you take it out of the box, you do that, and you're done. It's ready to go.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can still use it, and I have just forgotten about doing it, and just use the pen, and it's been totally fine. So if you've got the Optima and you haven't done this, you're still totally fine. Not any problems. Just something to try to remember when you do get a new pen. Okay, here. And then to clean it, I've got the video, and that is the leather strop and the aluminum oxide and or canning wax. I recommend both. So we're gonna move on to getting to know our pens. Now this is gonna get a little weird for you guys, but trust me, believe me, this will make a huge difference with your burning. So I want you to sit, if you're watching this on replay, sit in a comfortable position. Make sure you're breathing and you're nice and relaxed. And then, and if you're having your work angle up, have that ready. Get your favorite drink for creating. Mine happens to be this chamomile tea with honey and a splash of French vanilla creamer is what helps my brain go into the creative mode. So let me get some of that. And then we are going to light a candle or an incense. This was made by my father-in-law. Your favorite, the incense, the incense holder. So I'm going to light our incense. I know this is so weird. Trust me, I promise.
Hey, what's going on here?
We are setting a mood. We're setting a mood to get to know our burner and ourselves. So I got my incense going. And for me, I do particularly like this brand, but use whatever brand you like.
I don't know what's going on.
This is tribal coconut, and I don't want it going in your face. Sorry, I'll move it.
I'm sorry, I like incense.
Oh, I know. I'm just moving it. So this, for me, I either use Jamaican vanilla or Tahitian vanilla. This is my favorite brand. And because I am so sensitive, I can handle these the best. So we got our incense. We got our favorite drink. Now we need music. Now the music is your choice. Whatever is nice and relaxing to you. Calming, a TV, watching or having the TV play in the background or an audiobook is too distracting, because what we're going to be doing, you really need to be hearing and feeling your body and the pen. So nice calming music, whatever it is of your choice. I like new age music, but whatever works for you. I will also put on some Zeppelin, the calmer stuff for this part. Okay, so now we're going to get to know our friend here. And I promise you, this is weird. It just is. So we're just going to have fun with it. We're just going to do it. So we take our pen and we hold it. And we look at it. We feel the weight in it. We feel how it feels on the back of our hand here. How much can we move it around comfortably without moving our hand too much? Can we go up and down? Do we feel stiff? How hard are we gripping this pen? Because the harder you grip, the more hand fatigue you are going to get every time. So we got to keep a loose grip, breathing and relaxing, enjoying our tea and or favorite drink. And we're just going to hold it and move it around. Hello, little buddy. You can name your pen if you feel like it. I guess you're buddy. And then we're going to go ahead and all of this is turned off. Don't want to burn yourself. And then we're going to go ahead and plug it in, keeping it turned off. And we're going to decide which way is more comfortable to hold the pen, because we all hold pens differently when we're working. And so we need to pay attention to how the pen reacts to our hand. You know, is this comfortable? Again, being up at an angle is going to be more comfortable for the hand. But now you have weight on the back, and how does that feel? And that's one of the reasons why you need your burner a little closer versus further away, because you need to have this slack. Now for me, I have found now that holding my pen in this manner where the cord is going through my hand and underneath keeps the pen a lot more balanced, and it feels a lot better, and my hand and wrist don't hurt or get as tired as quickly. Other burner pens, my hand does hurt quicker, and like with the Burnmaster, to do this is extremely hard because the cord is not flexible and the pen's heavier. But if you have the smaller pens, the thinner pens, lighter pens, and cords, for me, this is the easiest way to hold it. And you kind of giggle a little bit. Does somebody say something?
Ted. How do you know what I'm wearing, Ted?
He is. So nice and comfortable. Get to know it. Change pens, because maybe a tip has more metal on the end in a different way. Does that feel different to you? Do you need to have an extra foam? Because, well, we will figure this out here in a minute if you need the extra foam. But does the pen feel different? With the Optima pens, I really don't feel a difference when it's a thinner pen versus a thicker pen. I just don't. Pat's done a really good job at balancing. So yeah, I really don't feel a difference. Now with the extra foam, you will feel a little bit a difference because you're adding just a little bit more weight on it. But tip wise, I don't feel the weight. Most of my foam is towards the top. I don't tend to want to be working back here. I like it up here, which is actually where Pat puts it. So it feels more comfortable and weight, and the balance is weighted correctly. So now We've plugged it in. We've checked it. These pins should be an extension of your hand. That way, if you're moving, it should be gliding and feeling comfortable, and you should be enjoying this. Remember, breathe. You got your music, your incense, your tea, your candle, your quiet time. Maybe you've had a hard day at work or your day period, and you just need to relax. Relax with your pens. These are your friends. Burning takes time. You're going to be spending, if you aren't comfortable with your pen, one, you're not going to spend the time to practice and slow down, so your burning won't improve. If you're not friends with your pen, you're not comfortable with your pens, then it's going to show in your work. You're going to speed through it. Maybe you don't clean up an area as much because you just want to be done with it. You just want to move on and be done. Spend time with them. Get to know them. There was one guy in one of the groups on Facebook. I loved it. He said that he sang his pens to sleep every night. And I just thought that was so awesome. So, talk to them. Love them. Pet them. Call them whatever name nice that you need.
Pet it if it's on.
It's not. My pins are not even plugged in right now. Okay. Not even plugged in because we're getting ready to go to the board. But just feel them and love them. They help you create. Without these, you can't do the burning that you have in your head. These are what make what's in your head a reality. So love on them. Have fun. Okay. Slow down and enjoy. So now we're going to the test board. And how I tend to do mine, you can always do yours differently, is I've got a ruler. I got my pencil with H lead in it. And I think I wiped off my graphic from before. And since I'm at an angle, this is going to be a little harder for me to get straight. So bear with me. Since I'm only going to do a couple of pens, I don't need a big board or too big of an area. So what I'm going to do is, hopefully, because I can't look over my shoulder, over the board with the camera in the way. Yeah, we're close. All right. So I think I'm going to do the spear shader. So I'm going to do my 18M. I think we will go ahead and do the large ball tip. And we are going to do the 17 SR. I think those are the three that we're going to test out. If I have room, then I'll do the 17 or the 12 small skew. And actually, these are the four of the style of pins that I recommend. So what I'm going to do is figure out, this is a 5x7. I think I'm going to do 1.5. Yeah, looks like I'm not going to have room for 4. I might actually put the 17 SR and this 12 together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to block it off. I'm going to keep this board as a reference as I'm working. And again, I'm not going to be able to line it up because I can't see. You guys get the better view. So what I'm doing is I'm just blocking off. So I make sure I have room for whatever pins I'm using. And the bottom one could be a little test, just so it's even. Just so it's even. Yeah, because I'm right on the edge. I don't want to flip it. Alright, close enough. Alright, so I'm going to start with the 18M. If it's new, it should be clean. And of course, it's not new. I'm going to just wipe to make sure because I have been using it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a low setting of 1. I'm gonna have to let this heat up. When it's the lower setting, it takes a little longer to heat up. Oops, spilled my tea. I'm gonna have my test board just so I can test down and see. Now this tip, we only use the first half of the tip at the most. This one is not a flat tip to burn with, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to burn a square, and I will go back and I will label my squares so I have the right number for the heat, and that's why this is a good reference to go back to, especially when you're new.
Sorry.
Is you can have a visual of what that heat setting is quickly. As you burn, the longer you burn, you'll get used to, you'll know about where that heat setting will be. So I say make a board that includes all your pens one time, and then you've got it, because we're actually going to do a couple other things with this board. So that's my 1. I'm going to turn it up to 2. Do I need to zoom in? Probably.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. Let's see if I can get this to work. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Hopefully this isn't blurry. I don't like. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try this.
Oh.
See if that's a little better. Hopefully that is. Alright, so this is 2. I'm only going to go up to about 7, because by the time you start scorching the wood, it all looks the same. So I won't go up to 10. I don't like, nor should you burn with a wire tip with it cherry red. I know people take pictures of that because they're trying to get, your attention on Instagram or in videos, but you really should not treat your pens like that. Think how you feel when you're all hot. You don't want to work. So we're going up to 3.
That is true.
Yeah, when you're hot, you don't want to work, and you have a higher chance of bending your tip or breaking a tip, because especially with some of the other brands, the heating and cooling expands and contracts the metal, making it weaker. And that's just based on the process they use. Now, I do tend on my test boards, and I didn't do it here because I'm trying to save time, but I do suggest doing halves. So 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. In fact, I'll show 3.5 because I didn't do 1 and 2.
So what I've noticed by watching you, you actually made me do this exercise when I started.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think that's important because I was trying to relate this to like painting, and like a lot of times I don't think I've ever had a professor like go through and say, all right, now you use your like round brush and put paint on it and see what kind of mark it makes, and basically make a canvas or a sheet with all different kinds of marks that your brushes use. Like you learn all that over time, but I think that maybe that's something that ought to be a thing, because even though that it's, we did something similar to that in art design, but we did it with color, where we were experimenting with mixing. But with any tool, it doesn't matter what it is, like you need to understand what the parameters are in order to work properly with it. Otherwise, when you get down to when you need it to count, if you don't have that confidence in what it's going to do at what setting or whatever it is, then you may end up messing up your art unintentionally. And so I think I really see the value of this. Like, it's hard for me to do stuff like this because I'm terribly impatient. I'm like, oh, I'll just get it in time. But I also got a lot of work that I can look back on and think like, wow, I could have done better. So
Now this is 7. No, I agree with you. I think it cuts down the frustration. I know it's more time, but you're really spending that time. See, now you know your pen is going to dig into the wood at 7 for this tip. And let's see here. I'll bring it up. I've turned it off and put it in my holder. So I did do a half step here. So this is 3, and this is 3.5 and 4. So you can see there is a difference at the half steps, and that's why I did it. And once you get to this spot, these 2 spots, depending on the wood and what you're doing, and the tip, and it's really no longer usable, it will mess up your burning. And now you know this. You know for that tip at this setting, you don't want to go any higher because you're just not going to get the results you want. So we're going to do 1.
So, like, I see the merit in that, and I see something additional too.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I know that some burners get out of adjustment, or if something happens, like if you're burning and you know and you see that like your burner is
something feels off.
It's not burning at the intensity that it should be at a given setting based on what your experience is. Like, you can refer back to this and say, okay, well, either I do or I don't have a problem.
Yep. And you know, because this is when you first took it out of the box or you first got it, now you know it's not burning the same as when you got it.
Yeah.
So I've labeled it. What I forgot to do real quick was to write the name of the tip. See, for me, I wouldn't probably go through, well, one day maybe I'll go through all my pens.
It's a lot of pens.
Huh?
It's a lot of pens.
It's a lot of pens. But it's not a bad, because we're there, like I said, there's something else we're going to do with this board that I think will be very helpful for people. And you guys turning this up, this is the 9M. Alright, so we got...
So I guess Spence, his burner does not make any marks until it's set on 3. So, and they're talking about adjusting it right now. And that's another thing too. Yeah, you
need to adjust it.
So something else that I see then is that if you are having problems and you need to adjust your burner, then you probably ought to go through the process again and see where it sits, so that you know what the new adjustment is. It's very technical.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the companies try to do like a average setting, but depending on your, did I just misspell spear? No, okay. Depending on where you're at in the world and your electrical setup and environment, you may have to adjust, and that is normal. And if you can't get it to adjust right, then you need to contact the manufacturer. And I know that Spencer has an Optima. So he would contact Pat. Alright. So I have labeled this. And for some reason I feel like I spelled it wrong. But okay. So I have it turned back on. I'm going to be careful. So I've got it numbered. So we know what the settings are. And the next that I'm going to do in this square is I am going to do some different marks. I'm just going to find it a even setting. Let's see here. I'm going to do a 3.5 because I can tell by the heat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and see what different marks. Okay, there we go. What different marks this tip itself will make. I mean, you can even go as far as to like stamp your mark so you know what it is. I've got it written. And so let's see here. I know if I use the tip, it looks like this. If I use the very edge, it will do this. If I use half the edge, it will do this. If I use the other half, it will look like this. I can use the very tip to make dots. Let's see. If I turn it upside down, go with the grain, I can make a thinner line. Let's see here. If I go against the grain like this, what does it do? And all you're doing is see, that's an even thinner mark than when I used just the edge here. But until I did this, I wouldn't know what marks it would make. So that's why it's really important. In fact, you could lower the heat if you wanted to. We'll bump it down to 2 just to see if the marks change. I do know, which if you're new, you should probably try this, but I do know that if I go to higher heat, it's going to scorch the wood. It's going to look like this. I'm not going to get a clean burn. So I already know that. But so this tip at 2, put on the edge. As long as you're not so I'm on 2, and this edge, this line is the exact same line that I'm going to do again. But because I've lowered my heat, I can now see that it does an even finer line. So the lower the heat, the finer the line. I'm going to go ahead and I'll put it at, I'll do 5 and show you what happens to that same exact position of the tip, just with a higher heat, so that we can see the difference. Make sure we're hot. So this is the exact same position of the pin. And now look how thick that line is.
Yeah.
So just by playing with this pin, I've learned what it can and can't do. And I've also learned that it can do it does multiple marks. It's not just, a shader. I can do lines with this. In fact, I do use it to do groups of hair. See how the pin curves on the wood. Does it grab the grain, or does it glide over it? Do the different curves, move your wood around. Let's see here, I'm on 3. See what it does. And then, once you're done with that, I recommend doing a gradient. I think what we're going to do is start from dark to light, because we did light to dark there. And based on my test, I think we're going to go ahead and go up to 3.5 to start that. Maybe I can do this closer so it's clearer. There we go. Is that clearer? Because I feel like...
That's clear.
Okay, because I just feel like it hasn't been clear. All right, so I'm going to do a gradient starting dark to light. And again, because I'm working on this angle, I'm having a harder time than if I was up in an angle, because I'm flat. So I'm going to start my gradient. And I am going to show a quick varnishing after this and why. So the longer I know that the longer I have the pen touching the wood and keep it moving, the lighter the burn, because the tip is not reheating to its full setting as quickly, because I'm blocking that by keeping it touching the wood. I'm going to smooth this out with circles, hopefully. This is not a very smooth gradient. So even now, I'm strangling my pen. So I need to loosen my grip and let it glide. I do tend to grab pins tightly, so I need to be better about that. I do want to go much lighter. So I have not adjusted the heat at all. And just moving and keeping it touching the wood longer. I'm kind of doing long ovals now. And so even at 3.5, which touch down here is black. Without lifting my pen, I have pulled it out and gone to basically a nothing. Now as soon as I raise this pen and slow down, it's going to burn that 3.5 again. Because I haven't done that. And that's part of the pen control and your pen being comfortable with your pen and having this friendship. See, but the minute I touch down, I'll show it here. The minute I touch down, because I lifted, it's dark again. So I did all that gradient with one heat setting at one go without ever touching the dial. I know that it's glary. Maybe if I turn this one off, it won't be so glary. Or maybe if I turn that off, which means I gotta turn that one off. There we go. Maybe that's a little better. But I do need the light for the camera, so we'll do that. All right, so I can turn around and lower the heat if I wanted to and go the other way, but I'm happy with this. Let's see here. We've checked the sides. Now each tip is going to burn differently. So I'm going to switch over to the ball tip. And we're going to do this again. I know it might seem boring, but you're going to see why this is important information. And you do the board one time. Have an open board if you want. Have an open board so when you get a new pen, just like you would if you're in watercolors or whatnot, you'd make a quick swatch of the new color. If you do it as an ongoing thing, it only takes a few minutes. All right, so this is the 19 large. I don't know what. Oh, let's sit on the counter. Okay, so this is the 19 large. I'm going to start with 1. Now watch how different the shading may be for this one. It's actually lighter because there's more metal on the tip directly touching the wood. It's thicker. It's not too much, but it is lighter. I'm gonna do 2 on this one, and I think I'm gonna do 2.5 after, just so that there's a bigger range that I see. Because I can see it better than you guys can on camera. It's there. Let me find a light. There we go. So this is 2. And we're going to do the same thing. Make different marks with it, see what it does. Because you'll find that, I did 4 different types of marks with the spear shader. So you may not need, a different kind of pen for something. It's just a matter of turning your tip around and seeing what else it does. Of course, the ball tips are different because they're balls. So 2.5. So I'm going to do the halves up to 4. And then, again, I'm not going to need to because they all start looking the same after that. Alright. So this is 2.5. And so just that half setting, half increment for this pen has given us a difference. And if you have to, go ahead and lift your pen up let it quickly recover its heat so that you get a nice even burn. Then we'll go up to 3. And see, look at the difference we've got in the 2 here. The 1 and 2, again, we've got glare. Let me see here. There you go. There is a difference in the values because they're 2 different tips. So this is 1, 2, 2.5, 3. And all we're doing is just becoming friends. Friends with our pens. Again, loosen that grip. I just grabbed it again. It's not happy with me. This will make your hand, the tighter you grip, the more your hand's going to hurt. The less burning you're going to want to do. So this is 3 and that's 3. Hopefully you can start to see. Because this is a thicker pen, metal-wise, at the tip, the settings are going to be lower. Or the values are going to be lower than they are on something thinner. I should have drawn lines to keep this even, but oh well. So this is 3.5, and then we'll just go to the holes after that.
This is helpful to me because, like, if nobody told me better, like, I turned on my burner and turned it on to, like, 1, you know,
and then you begin.
And I just tried to burn just for a second, and nothing happened. I'd be like, oh, it's not working. But I can see, like, here you're having, you know, to keep at it to get that nuance.
Now, off camera, because I went. There we go. Yeah, you gotta let the pen heat up. And see, I'm feeling heat in my thumb because of the angle I'm at. This is not heat that I'm used to having anymore. I may have to put it up at an angle. We're at 4. And I know as soon as I get up to 6, this pen's going to get really hot on my thumb. So I'll let it get hot on my thumb for a minute, and then I'm going to put it at an angle. It's not that you guys can see the difference, but I can at least describe the feeling. So, 5. And again, I'd have my music playing. I wouldn't be talking. I'd be just listening and feeling what's going on. And yep, I feel the heat in my finger, my thumb. I readjusted. All right, 6. And I'll just stick it out. This is 6. See, with this, you're actually seeing less smoke. Let's see if 7's going to give us the smoke that 7 did on the sphere shader. Let's see here. See, right now you'll see the red more so in the stem than you will the ball. At 10, the ball will be bright red. Yep. See, it's almost like it's eating the wood. And it won't be a smooth burn. Oh, and that's hot on my finger.
Earl says she thought you listened to audiobooks.
I do listen to audiobooks, but when I'm testing, when I'm playing, when I'm getting to know my burner, then no. Because then I've got, my brain is trying to listen to the book and what have you, and I'm not listening to I'm not listening and feeling as much as I want to with a new pen. So when I'm doing this, no, I recommend music. Now if you're just working, then yeah, you can absolutely audiobook. Alright, so the different shapes. So we can draw a line with the ball tip. And we won't be able to adjust. I mean, this line will get thicker with the heat, just like it did there. Right now I'm on 3. So we get a line. We can do shading by doing circles. Because if we go this way, it's not going to be as smooth. See, it's burning differently by going just back and forth. And it's not giving me a smooth texture. It's picking up the grain. And it's got start and stop points. So I have found going in circles and overlapping and blending smooths that out. Anyway, so we got stippling. So I can do tiny dots if I go fast. If I want bigger dots, I would have to hold down for a second. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an even bigger one. So depending on how quick I touch down will determine the size of the dot. Let's see here. What other? This one with rolling, it's not going to make so much of a difference. This is a good pen for texturing with. So these are squiggly lines, but depending on what you're burning, the squiggly lines could work. And this is a good pen for that. We're gonna go up to 1, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. I'm gonna go up to 4 for the gradient. Now I know based on just this test I did right here, I'm gonna need to do the ovals in order to get a smooth gradient. So I'm gonna blow on this tip so that when I touch down it doesn't leave a hole. And I'm gonna go really quick. Actually, this is the dark area, so I'm gonna slow down. And since I'm going up and down, I'm kind of doing long ovals. Yeah, if this was just me testing a pen, it would be quiet time. It'd be me relaxing and just being. It's a little different when you're trying to do it live and talk.
Philip has to go.
Bye, Philip. Alright, so then I'm going to speed up. Again, I'm going to practice not adjusting my heat, not lifting my pen, because I lifted my pen to readjust my hand. I touch down in the darkest area, and then we're going to pull it out. And in this, I'm going in all directions, trying to blend out. And my only focus here is keeping my hand relaxed, which I just had to tell myself to relax again. So relax my hand and do the gradient. I'm not thinking of anything else. I'm just paying attention to what this pen does as I try to do this. Light it up. I don't necessarily want the texture because I want a smooth gradient if at all possible. So I'm going to try to work those out. Spin quicker. I'm hoping I can get it as light as I did the sphere shader. Still set on 4. So it's kind of a competition with myself. Can I do lighter. You see, looking at it, my dark isn't as dark as the spirit shaders. I'm actually going to up my heat because I know there's only so dark after a while you can get with one heat setting. Went up a half step. Let's see if I can get it any darker. Slow down, relax, listen to music playing. We got a mood going on. I wish I could fully set the mood though. I can't. Oh, no dimming of lights though. You need the light. You need to see. Okay, so I got 2 gradients going, dark to light. Did not adjust my heat until other than to make this darker. And I was able to get close. And that's just about how, getting to know my pen, getting to know how it will glide across the wood. And in fact, look at the ball tip on 7. Let's see if I can get a good... It really ate the wood there. You're not going to get as smooth of a burn at the higher levels with the ball tip. It's just not going to happen. So real quick, I'm going to write what this is. Write my notes on here real quick. Okay, I really didn't leave myself room there. So what I'll do is I'll go 1, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. And this one is ball. I do suggest, if at all possible, doing this kind of test, having your test board on the type of wood you think you're going to be burning on all the time. Definitely not with pine or oak. And we're going to do this pen. This is the 17 SR. This is the custom 17 that I requested Pat to make. This actually does more lines than you think. More different lines. And then this will be the last one we do. And I was going to do an example over here, but I have like a doodle or something. If you want me to do that, I can do that next week in this open space here. Because I did want to kind of show you what at least polyacrylic does to your burn at different levels. So this one, make sure I'm on camera. Now you'll see that this one, because it has a different surface area besides, of course, the mark I'm making, it's also at 1, it's also darker. Let's see, I'm going to go sideways a little bit just so I can have a little bit of a square to see. I'm going to bump up to 2. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to do the halves on this one. It's good to see it with the ball tips and the shaders. Not necessarily with your lines. So that's 2. So I'm just doing that so I have a bigger surface area to see. We're going to go to 3. And the line probably is going to get thicker the hotter we get, just like with the spear because the heat radiating off the tip is also affecting the wood, the surrounding area of the burn. So see, this is 3. And the line is getting thicker.
Beryl asks, no spoon shader.
Which one? I wasn't planning on it, but you know what? I could do the spoon shader down here.
And she says margarita on the side. I think that's her choice of drink.
Oh, gotcha. So that's a 4. Look how much that indented the wood, and it's just going to get more so. But if you didn't test before, and you're like, oh, I need a dark line, and I need it here, but I need a thin line. If you touch down with a 4 without testing first, you'd be really shocked when you got that. And I am not pressing into the wood at all. I'm letting the pen do the work. But I'm trying to even barely touch the wood, because if I don't, it's really going to gouge into it. And see, this one's getting redder at 7. And that's barely touching the wood. So, just so we can see the difference, these aren't halves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that shows you how the line changes based on your heat setting. Now, for different strokes of this, I think I'm at 3. So we know it does the straight line. I'm actually going to heat it up. So we know it does straight line. Now, how does it do this line? It's darker and thicker when you use more of the heel. If we use more of the tip, no, it does the same. Now we can flip this one over.
Beryl says any size spoon, as I know you don't have them all. Or do you?
I do. So I can do stippling with this one. Just flipping it over. If I don't flip it over, I'd have to take it straight up and down. But that's going to give me more dashes than it will circles. Okay? Let's see here. If I'm careful, I can draw it sideways. I don't want to put any kind of pressure on the tip. If it won't go, don't make it go. So I can go sideways. This is one of the things, I gotta twist myself, about this tip that was important to me, and that was making curves, which at this angle I'm having a hard time. This is not a good example. Let's try it this angle. Maybe. But mainly for hair, because I go quickly and I'm doing bunches like this. I needed to be able to twist and curve, and with a straight edge it almost feels like it's going to break regardless of the pen. So that's why I had this one made, so that was easier. So we know that this one will do different tips, or different lines, curves, thicker, thinner, and dots. So far we've got dots with all 3 of them, but the dots do better, of course, with the ball tip, as it should. I'm just going to quickly show an example of the 12, because I'm not going to go through the whole heating thing, because it's a straight edge, and I just want to show what it does with the wood. So, and this one's thinner, much thinner than the 17 SR. So I'm going to heat this one up at 4. And I just want to show how this does make a difference between the two. So this one at 4. So let's see here, 1, 2, 3. That's the 4 with the 17 SR, and that's the 4 with the 12S skew. Big difference in size. So if you need cleaner lines, this might be the pen. But now when I go to curve, it does curve, but I kind of feel like I'm going against the grain, which I am, but I can actually feel it in my hand. As long as I'm going slower, it's okay. But if I start going quicker like I did here, it just does straight lines and doesn't curve the way I want. So that's why the difference in the two pens. See, I'm trying to curve it. And the grain, because it's a thinner tip, is grabbing it. I'm doing more fighting than I'm doing anything else. But this is definitely a great pen for thin lines. Alright. And see, we're learning all this because we're trying out our tips. We're cataloging them. So I will quickly... And then you want the spoon shader. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. You need to tell me. I'll do one. Which one? Don't forget, I helped test these too, so I've got them all. Alright, so I'm gonna quickly. So this was the. Oh, I'm not gonna do a gradient with that one because it is not even worth doing. So this one is a 17 SR. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Alrighty. Not the neatest, but it will do. So let's just recap and look at what we got. So this is just showing us all the different marks and what we can do with one pen. That way it's easier to decide if you need more, what they do, and what they would be best used for. How come you have a 4? All right. How come I have 4? Let's see here. Small, medium. You know what? I think this was the original large, and then he changed how he made it to that. I think that's what the difference is. I think that's why. I could have sworn he had an extra large too, because that would be. Let's see here. I think he changed how he was doing it from this one. I just grabbed one. Let's see here. I'll do the ball tip real quick, and I'll do it with the. I'll do the spoon shader small with the ball tip large, because what Pat has done with the spear shaders is they are meant to. Let's see here. That seems too big. Why does that seem too big? Maybe it's just me because. Alright. So what I'm going to do real quick. So this would be the small ball tip, which is larger than actually the extra large ball tip, which that one I don't have. I don't need it. So we'll see, because this is, even though this is a little bit larger than the ball tip, which is this one.
Beryl says need them all. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking about Pokemon.
Meet them all.
Gotta catch them all.
So large ball, and this is larger than the ball. So it's going to burn hotter because it's thinner. No, I'm on one. Because this is a small. This would actually burn similar to the small ball tip. And this just goes to show how big of a difference there is between the tips. No, I keep thinking this is not this small. Now, they may look different than what you're getting now. Because like I said, these are testers. I would need to ask him to send me the new ones, how he's making them. Yeah, this is not heat adjusting. Not really. I'm not seeing a big difference. I'm just going to stop at 4, and then I'm going to grab the small ball tip and test under this to see. Because this is burning hotter than it should. This may not be the right pin. This may have been a tester. My small ball tip at 1. And see, this is another reason to do the testing. Let's see here. Now this should be darker than that, but it shouldn't be as dark as that. Let's see here. Maybe I put the wrong pin away. No. Looks like maybe I put the wrong pin away.
Beryl says I labeled mine at the top of the phone.
Do what?
She labeled hers at the top of the phone.
Not a bad idea. Alright. So yeah, okay, there we go. It was really throwing me off how dark it was. So this is the small ball tip at 1. Because there's so little there. And we have metal. Though the 9M will burn differently. And it's even thinner than this one. So that's why it's so important to test. Okay. Yep, that was a small ball spin shader. Alright. That's all I needed to see. I needed to make sure I didn't have the wrong one out. Alright. I'm not sure what she wanted with the spin shader, so...
I think she just wanted to see it.
Ah. Gotcha. Wow, it actually looks like there's sap coming out of this one. Is the... This may have actually burned through the thin layer, and that might actually be glue for the ball tip on here. See how it's shiny?
Yeah.
It's acting like sap would. I'm guessing that's glue. Because none of the other ones... I'll do a little bit here. Huh. Maybe too thin, because that's how it originally started. And I really sanded it down, so it may be too thin. Alright, so what I wanted to show, I think I will do here. And all I'm going to do is do a burning. I'm going to do another gradient right here. And I'm going to take... No, because then I don't have to burn again. I'm going to do it right here. Where is my blue tape? I just had it out. It's right in front of me. Alright. I'm going to mask this off. Because what I'm going to do, I get asked a lot about varnish. So I'm going to quickly do, where I don't want the varnish to go, I'm going to cover. That way I'm able to use the wood for other things. I'm not wasting it. Just to make sure. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to varnish, and the reason I'm doing this is I want to see what happens to the lights and darks once it's sealed. What I do tend to do is pop the denatured alcohol again. Somebody took my screwdriver, so I use scissors.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was working on something. The car.
The car.
Oh, Missy's car.
Yeah. No, I was out before that. There we go. All right. I'm going to wipe this off real good. And any carbon that's loose on the wood will come up. You'll see it on the paper towel, and that is because it's loose. But if you don't do this before you brush on your varnish, it will smear across your varnish. So that's why it's important. I think I need to turn this down a little bit. So I'll let that dry real quick. And what I'm going to do is grab this. Where's my other sponge? And you know what, for now, this is fine. Alright, sorry about that. So this is the clear semi-gloss. I'm actually liking glossy better. A sponge brush, but I do not recommend these cheap beepy sponges because it will not give you a smooth finish. And so what I'm doing is, see, if you notice, it looks like our burn lightened a little bit because we wiped off the carbon. Now what we need to know is what it's going to do when we varnish. And in doing this, it will also give you a little chart telling you, okay, I want a light burn, but if I burn this light, it's going to lighten up. Completely normal, but it may not be the final look you're going for. So having this little all-encompassing chart really does help. Alright. What I'm going to do, and once I put this on, it's not really going to change. Get my tips away, so varnish my tips. Alrighty. This will also show me how dark the wood, if at all, it will darken as it is sealed. This will give me a lot of information in one go. And if it was color, I would be using the spray varnish first. I don't think I need to do a couple of coats on this. Let's see here. I'm going to have to pick it up to see if I cut the areas. See, it's not as smooth, and that's because it's the brush. I was having that frustration this last time around with the tiger and the elephants. I couldn't figure out why I was having such a problem with it being smooth, and realized I wasn't using the same varnish brush that I normally do. So I let it dry, but this, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you're going to varnish to do 2 layers of your test burn. So do the test burn again before you varnish. Have that down here. That way you can visually compare the differences. Let's see here. Hoping that will help. So one went away a little bit. Of course, this needs to dry. it might look a little cloudy, and as it dries, that'll clear up. Let me see here. So if I don't use color spents, you don't have to spray if you don't want to, especially as long as you wipe off. You can. I just bought that one new. I haven't even opened it yet. Same brand. This one I found, it darkens the wood less than polyurethane does. So that's why I used this one. Let's see here. Hi, Lana. I think we got everything right.
I think so.
I went a little over everything. Did we make friends with our pens today?
Spencer, the question.
Yeah, I just answered it.
Oh.
You were doing your job. You were doing your job.
That.
You weren't doing it. And see, look at that. The incense is done. It's all burned down.
So do we need to do that from now on? Just light incense and like when it's out, the stream stops?
No, I just noticed it. I don't know how long it's been out. So do we have any final questions? I'm hoping anybody new to burning, this will help. When this dries is when I'll pull the tape, and what I'll do is I'll take a picture of it and post it in the group so that you can see the difference. Let's see here. I talked about the pins and how they're our friends. Without them, we can't create. There are some pins that I have that I still haven't tested, such as the 16. I need to do a board with. Oh, wait, actually, I have kind of done a board with these. That board is. Where's the board from last week? Mm-hmm. The board from last week. Where is it hiding? How could that disappear?
I don't know.
What did we do last week?
I don't remember.
You don't know what we did last week?
Me too.
If I don't know what we did last week, and you don't know what we did last week, did we?
Last week.
Okay, the week before.
Oh, I definitely don't remember that.
I'm looking specifically for a board because I have.
Let's see, Missy was here, was she not?
That's the board. So for the 16, I did actually make a board so that I could see how it burned. And that's this, see here, 16 small and large. So this is my board that I did for that pen, just to see what it does. And since it's a calligraphy pen, I was writing with it and using a couple other pens to write with. So yep, I do my boards too. But I would suggest getting a board like this, a bigger one. This one is 9x12. And you've seen me use it a lot because I've been using it for a while. But just section it off and do all your pins, and then you've got it one place. Don't have to go looking for it like I did. Let's see here. And we've gotten, yeah, it's starting to dry. But I did lay it on thick. You don't need to lay it on that thick. I did, trying to get it so you could see it. Close this up, spill it. And if we don't have any other questions, critiques, what? I'm not
saying what we did last week.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Eve. Thank you to Eve.
Thank you so much, Eve. You're such a sweetheart. I love Eve. Love, love, love. Mwah, mwah, mwah. She helps so much.
Yes, she does.
She's awesome. She doesn't burn, but she still helps.
More Adventure Cat.
More Adventure Cat. In fact, if you like cats and watercolors and inks and what have you, down in the description below, I have Eve's link to her YouTube channel. Please make sure to sub the love. And if we don't have any other questions, I think we're going to end it here. Happy burning, guys. And no. I forgot.
Don't forget it.
I forgot it.
Well, don't forget it.
I did forget it. Don't forget You're awesome. You can do this. You're a pyro artist. Happy burning, guys. Bye.
Bye.